Welcome back, everybody. This is Chapter 16, Language. According to a lot of the other chapters, this one might seem a little bit out of place, but if you look back and you really think hard about all the barriers that stand in the way between the world and it being peaceful, no wars or any other kind of stuff like that, our country itself obviously has a lot of problems, and most of the chapters previous hopefully taken care of a lot of that. And if you didn't catch up on any of that, you might want to go back before watching this one, or just go ahead and watch this one anyway, depending on what you want, or just follow up afterwards. Either way, but hopefully, like I said, a lot of those barriers are taken down at this point, and there's only a couple left. And one of those barriers, I truly believe, is language. People have a lot of things separating themselves between different countries and different opinions and stuff like that, and one of them, I believe, is the way that we can communicate with each other. The internet has provided a astoundingly good form of communication throughout the world, but there's still a lot of language barriers that are hard to breach. If you are some sort of tourist or anything like that, you've ever been to another country, you can understand where I'm talking about. You're relieved when you find someone that speaks your language, even if you had studied up a little bit just in case when you're off at another place or you know where you're going to go. So not only barriers, but also just efficiency when it comes to languages. The English language itself, I really don't have to go into it a lot, I don't believe. If you really want to know about kind of some of the inconsistencies and stuff like that with the English language, you could really just search for it. Just open up your nearest internet browser and search why English language is terrible. You'll find hundreds and hundreds of sites that just have so many different examples of why it's so difficult to learn, it's so difficult to master the English language, and it's really unnecessary, the reasons why it is that way. Hopefully, one of the things that we can accomplish with creating a new language, and that's the other thing, in my opinion, to bring the world together, we need a universal language. A lot of people would argue that one language is better than the other, and that's really, it is possible that there is a language out there that is better than all the rest, but I think in order to preserve people's pride, I guess you could say, none of them should really be chosen, just because it would give people an inflated sense of their country is the best or their language is the best, and it's really something that we're trying to avoid, especially with too much arrogance. You never know where that can lead. That could be a bad thing, so I'd like to avoid that, but also because I think a new language could really be beneficial as a means to advance our society in such a way, because a lot of the new words or new things that we come up with, it's difficult to name them. You end up naming them after celebrities or random stupid things. And I'm not saying celebrities are stupid, but I really don't think things should be really named after them unless they did something really important, not just because they're popular or something like that. But one of my favorite books, 1984, and their, what is it called, Newspeak? Anyways, they basically developed a way to minimize the human language as a way of, I guess, controlling people in a way, to dumb it down, really, really far dumb it down. And one of the things that I'd like to avoid is making something simpler. Well, not making it simpler, but I don't want to make it, I want to make it easier to learn, but have it, I want to say, infinitely expandable. So we can make the framework, the structure of a new language, but set it up to where it can just get better over time. And not only that, but a lot of the all of the languages today have developed and evolved over time, when things kind of, I don't want to say because they weren't created that there are flaws, but basically there's so many flaws in so many different languages that I really think it would be high time for us to have a clean slate, start over, and really take a really hard look at what it is that we need out of a language and use that to our advantage when creating one. One thing you have to look at is there are, I believe, about 100 phonemes in the human speech range, and basically what a phoneme is it's just a sound that a human being can make. No language out there uses the full 100. I think the most one uses is like 40 or say, I don't think it's 60, but it's close to only about half. one way that we could improve that is just basically using all of them, or at least setting up a system to where we could use all of them. Maybe not necessarily using all of them right now, but just putting them in there to where we can end up using them in the future. Some of the big arguments against creating a entirely new language, a lot of resistance comes with people not really wanting to learn it. And that's very, very understandable. Learning an entirely new language it would be very difficult, very extremely, extremely difficult, and very difficult for people to accept. And that's one of the reasons why I think that we should really, well, for one, you shouldn't worry about it, because if you take a look back to my education chapter and the new devices that I don't want to say created, like I theoretically would like to see created, what you can do is create the language, and then a lot of people aren't going to want to learn it, they're not going to want to do it, so just don't learn it. Just program the devices that our children use to learn and grow and teach them. So you wouldn't have to learn a new language, because it would basically be phased out in the generations. And like I said in the chapter itself, I really think that people should know 3 languages. One, we should universalize sign language. Nonverbal communication, I believe, is very, very important, and we should definitely focus on that. Expand a little bit, kind of eliminate a lot of those kind of exceptions, basically what I'm talking about here with the other one, and kind of maybe have them work together, hopefully this new language and sign language. And also, I don't want to say your host language, but like your cultural language. So whatever your heritage is, obviously a lot of Americans of the Anglo-Saxon or whatever descent would stick to English for the most part. Anyone from Latin America would stick with Spanish or anything like that. But that would be your third language that you would speak, your cultural language, because I think that it's very, very important not to lose out on that cultural background, because yes, our culture a lot of times and our language divides us, but being unique and having that culture and that history, I think is very, very important, because our history is what teaches us what to do, what not to do. Basically, it lets us know our mistakes, and it definitely helps us grow as a people. And preserving culture, preserving history is very, very much, in my opinion, something very important that we should be doing. So that's just my opinion. I guess a little bit of backtracking, something that's really important I probably should have went over before, sorry I didn't, but having having the opportunity to create a brand new language would open up so many different new possibilities for us. One of those possibilities would be to, I want to say, kind of align the language, or at least, I don't want to format it along the lines of science and kind of mathematics and new properties and type of stuff. Because I mean, we've reached a point in our scientific knowledge where we kind of realize how much you don't know and how much is still kind of out there. A lot of things that hold people back in school and other type of things like that is the fact that it's difficult to tie certain things together, because when things are discovered, they're basically named after the person that discovered them. They're named, I don't want to say willing, a lot of them are named very well, very specifically. They follow a line of certain things. But one way and one thing that we can do to kind of make school and education easier, I think I kind of might mention this, is just coming up with a whole new structure of things. One of the things, it's kind of like this, I don't want to say running joke, but people kind of memorize songs really, really easily, and they're like, man, it's like I get this song that I like stuck in my head, and I can remember that really easily, but when I'm trying to study for like a test or something like that, it's almost impossible to remember all the stuff that I need to learn. And one of the ways that we can kind of try and improve the education system and by using the language is kind of try to make things that are similar along similar lines. I don't want to say rhyme with each other, but kind of make them able to flow in the sense that you might be able to make them into a song. And it sounds kind of weird, but basically what I'm trying to say is if you can use this knowledge ahead of time of how people learn, you might be able to develop certain ways in which to create songs from, information patterns and stuff. And by information patterns, I mean like a subject that you're learning about, like in biology or chemistry or something like that. If you can make like a song about a certain string of carbon-based molecules, and it would make it easier, and it would incorporate the, their properties, and it would just basically, if you couldn't remember on a test, you could be like, oh well, blah blah blah, singing the song to yourself, and it's like, oh okay, that's how the electron structure works, or that's how this works, duh, I can't believe I forgot that. And there's so many different possibilities of ways to make improvements and to make things easier, and to, like I said before, make it expandable to where you can create more, and just not have these roadblocks and having to create names that really don't kind of follow along with the rest of the grouping of them. And it's kind of like when you have gas laws or something like that, they're all named after the people that discovered them, and that's great, obviously, but it would help if they had names that related to their properties, or how they were not how they were discovered, yeah, how they were discovered, or things that they relate to. It's just, it really opens up a whole new ballpark of ways that you can teach people, and that you can, I'm just repeating myself at this point. You guys know what I'm talking about. Hopefully you guys know what I'm talking about. If not, I just have to make another video, and then maybe you guys can understand my rambling at that point. But anyways, hopefully I've covered everything I wanted to cover, and hopefully you guys are enjoying these videos. If you are, please like and subscribe, share them with your friends, so that you can get these messages out there, and hopefully we can make a positive change in the world. Anyways, thanks.